Yesterday's class we're discussing about activities introduction. So there we understood how to call one activity into another activity. So for that we understood call, branch, and queue. So call and branch is following like purely synchronous behavior, and queue follows a synchronous behavior. And between call and branch, okay, so maybe in terms of call, so once your child execution is completely done, it will come back to parent and remaining steps of parent will be resumed. Whereas in branch, so after child execution is done, so remaining steps of parent will be ignored. This is what we understood. And every time if you're trying to go for a branch, it will be executed on conditional based. Okay, so this is what things we understood. And then we understood something about like SQL query part. Maybe if our requirement is to interact with our database table. So interacting with the table meaning there will be a number of interactions, a number of type of interactions. So that is to pull single record, maybe pull multiple records, inserting a single record, maybe inserting multiple records, maybe deleting single one, deleting multiple, whatever. So yesterday we came across maybe 10 methods, right? Out of which we segregate those as OBJ set of methods and RDB set of methods. Okay, and we finalized for OBJ, you'll be having handlers also extra. OBJ open by handle and OBJ delete by handle. And for RDB, no such handler. There will be only fixed 4 methods for RDB. So RDB open, RDB list, RDB save, and RDB delete. Likewise, similar here, OBJ open, OBJ browse, OBJ save, OBJ delete. So these things we understood. Now with this understanding, we can start our actual requirement. So that is, if this is our section, so drop down one should get data from table one. So meaning drop down one should execute one SQL query, no doubt in it. Maybe if we are planning to go for an activity, somewhere it has to use OBJ-Browse. Okay, OBJ-Browse. So OBJ-Browse no doubt meant for pulling out multiple records. Meaning in clipboard, those must be like multiple pages. So if you are in a plan to go for page new in the method, in activity method, so which might not help you to accommodate multiple records from table, right? So yesterday we concluded for OBJ-Browse need not create a new page from your end. System has to create collection of pages automatically. So let's work on that. I think we even created an activity. So working with activity. So that is particularly with OBJ-Browse. So our requirement here is to pull multiple records, right? You have to go with OBJ-Browse, you know that. Okay, so let me remove this first one. Okay, so now tell me what should be our step number one? It must be OBJ-Browse, right?
Yes, OBJ-Browse.
OBJ-Browse. So if we are trying to go for OBJ-Browse, our expectation is it has to interact with some database table in the background and it has to pull multiple records. So no doubt we have to provide what should be the table name, right? So this is our database. So where I'm having collection of tables and one table is like country. And I might be having columns for this as country ID, country name, country capital, country currency, country animal likewise. Now our requirement here is in our drop down, I wanted to display only country names. So for that, we are trying to go for activity. In activity, we are in a plan to go for OBJ-Browse. So this will be having some Java code internally to execute one SQL query to pull multiple records from respective table. So no doubt I have to pass so and so table name, right? Maybe country table or states table out of 500 plus tables. I have to define so and so table name. So if I give table name, system has to generate one SQL query on the table. And here, no doubt it has to pull multiple records. Multiple meaning it need not be all every time. So there must be some filtering part also to be applicable. And additionally, Additionally, we have to restrict what data we wanted it, right? Now, in our case, we want only country name. That is enough. So it has to pull n number of records only for country name as one column. That is enough. So meaning here we have to provide certain inputs. What should be the table name? And within that table, if we are having hundreds of columns, okay, what column name you want? We want only country name today. Maybe country ID also, maybe country capital. What are all the limited column names you wanted? You have to pass these as parameters, no doubt in it. So let's understand opening this and checking for design. So you'll be having n number of tables, out of which one table name should be distinguished. N number of columns, there must be like headings here. So, from database perspective, you call it as a table. And from UI perspective, you call it as a class, right? Every table will have a concrete class. So there will be a class with its connected table. And whatever the properties we have here, no doubt those must be like in columns here. So in OBJ-Browse, it will not ask you for table name directly. It will not ask you for column names directly. Instead, it will ask you what is the class. So if I'm passing some class name here, expand this, it will ask you for class name. If I'm passing one class name, so for that respective class, what is the table system has to identify? Meaning the class providing here must be 100% concrete. If I give it as @base class, then it's purely abstract, you know that. There will not be any table. What is the point of pulling out multiple records for a tableless class? Okay, so here 100% it must be concrete class only, and that too, it should be having one dedicated table. So initially we created a data class which is concrete, but we did not configure a source for that. If you don't configure a source, PR other will be the table for that. So there is no point of pulling out the data from PR other also. So I have to no doubt define a concrete class which should have dedicated table. So here we will be providing table name as OZK dash, FINA dash, click on down arrow. So this is our concrete class, right? And out of this class, we are supposed to provide properties. Properties nothing but what columns you wanted. So click on dot, you will get all the properties of the class, nothing but all the columns of the table, associated table. Maybe if I just wanted country name, that is enough. And if you wanted country ID also, then add it like in one more property, nothing but one more column pulling out. So these things you have to. So OBJ-Browse will every time ask for class name only. And what columns or properties you wanted, you have to define it here. And here we will be giving some filtering condition where country name starts with A. So country name contains IND, whatever. We can add some filtering conditions here. Fine. And after expanding, it is asking for one more mandatory thing called page name. It is asking for one more mandatory thing. So maybe if I define ABC as the page, what do you mean by this? So system has to run one SQL query with respect to table, pulling out the respective columns and maintain the data onto this ABC page, right? That is what we're expecting. So it is very clear OBJ-Browse has the capacity to create its own page, need not go for again page new. That is what basic sense should be. Suppose if I define same page name here, what should happen? So as part of step number 1, consider this is uncommented. As part of step number 1, a single page might be created. And as part of step number 2, so there might be same page recreated. There might be same page recreated. Earlier we understood, right? If I go for page new for multiple times, don't expect duplicated pages. One will override the other one. So page new is to create a new page. And from OBJ-Browse also, it is having capacity to create a new page. It might override the existing one. Okay, so need not again go for page new. Understanding, right? So for everyone clear how to go with OBJ-Browse? Come on.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And here, whenever you are going for OBJ-Browse, it is showing something called get row key. Okay, and that row key name is pzDynKeys. So we already came across word called pzDynKeys, which is used to get its instance class, correct? But now you don't know what is in detail about pzDynKeys, right? So you are supposed to uncheck this checkbox. Why? Because pzDynKeys will not be applicable for these data, for this type of data. Let me tell you, let me try to explain you now itself. You might not understand completely, but let me explain. So if this is our database, so you'll be having n number of tables. So consider this as our operator table. So if I have maybe 10 operators, if I have 10 operators, so no doubt from App Explorer, maybe under operators, I will be seeing those 10 as like instances, right? I can open first instance and click on pzDynKeys. pzDynKeys is nothing but something unique handler, or to be more to be given with simple statement. So if this is a database table holding all the list of customers, consider every table will have one primary key like customer ID, right? And there will be another primary or important key called Aadhaar card number. So this Aadhaar card number will be unique for entire table as well as entire database. If this is our Indian database, where there might be a table related to Andhra Pradesh voters, and maybe Telangana customers or Telangana candidates, or maybe Bihar, whatever. So every table might be having its own primary key. But for entire database level, there will be another primary key called Aadhaar card number. So if I know Aadhaar card number of any record, I need not know his table name also, which is unique at entire database level. Okay, so similarly, pzDynKeys is something unique for each and every table of entire database. Okay, later we'll come to know about this. So let me not talk more about this today. So if you're trying to work with any such data instances, maybe country table or state table, all these are like data tables what you created. So where for those records, pzDynKeys will not be there. So if you are marking this and if you are trying to run and check, you will get an error. Instead, you are supposed to remove this. Maybe here, if I give it as data admin operator ID, which is nothing to pull multiple operators, you know that. So each and every operator will have unique pzDynKeys key. In that scenario, pulling out pzDynKeys key is okay, accepted. But these being like data instances where there will not be pzDynKeys keys applicable. Okay, let's not talk more about this. So for today, just understand unchecking this checkbox. So let me simply save this. Let me take screenshot. So you are supposed to run it and test, right? So now let me run it. So go for actions, click on run. So you'll be getting one separate window like this. And again, click on run. Again, you should get one separate window like this. Okay, now close this window. Okay, I'm trying to close this. And I have to check for my output, right? So for that, you have to click on clipboard. So you know that there will not be user interface for activity execution. I have to check it in clipboard or tracer only. So if I click on clipboard, okay, let me compare it here. So I opened clipboard. So now tell me what should be the page name to be available in clipboard?
Free data.
What is it?
Country data.
Data.
It must be like country data. And since I'm trying to run my activity standalone, we call this as standalone execution. Okay, so is there any part of flow rule executed today? No, no, right? Flow rule is not executed, meaning there should not be pure page. Am I correct? In clip,
Yes.
there must not be pure page referencing to our work class. It will not be there. Okay, fine. Maybe if I'm trying to run the flow rule, consider I executed a flow rule and somewhere I'll come to screen number 3. No doubt pure page will be there. And whatever the activity we just created will link to this dropdown. When this dropdown is executed, activity will be executed and it will try to create a new page, no doubt. And no, this will be maintained outside pure page. Correct, right? Yes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is what already we understood. Okay, that's fine. So now I'm coming here and I'm looking for so and so page called country data. I can see it. And just guess and tell me what will be the class inside that. In clipboard, there must be a page. In bracket, there must be a class, right? What should be the class name?
Data dash country.
Country class. Country data class, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So remember one small point. In clipboard, if I see a page referencing to a class, it must be holding a record related to that table, correct?
Yes.
Yes, right? It must be holding a single record related to the table. But you know, OBJ-Browse used to pull multiple records, right? Multiple records. So in that scenario, do you expect multiple pages referencing to the same class? So if this is our database and if this is our table, country table, where I have almost 10 records. Now, if I open clipboard, so you are saying like country data will be the page name. Okay. And if I ask you what will be the class inside bracket, you are saying it as country data class. So if I see a page referencing to a class, no doubt it must be holding a single record of that table. Correct, right? It must be holding a single record of the table. But now we used OBJ-Browse and the status there we are seeing it as success. Another success. Success meaning no doubt it must be pulling out all the 10 records. And here it must be maintaining it as 10 pages, no doubt in it. Okay, now if I just check it in the clipboard, if you see country data, country data, country data for 10 times, so duplication will be there, which is not at all allowed. Not at all allowed. So how data will be managed here? This is what you have to know. So now if we just cross check it in the clipboard, so you'll see the page whatever created referencing with some other class in the bracket, correct? Is it showing with
Yes.
country class? No.
No.
So it is showing with something different one that is code PEGA list, what we don't know. So in our activity, I did not use anything like code PEGA list anywhere. So it is my own wish to give whatever the page name I wanted. So if I give it as ABC, what will think? So this must be created referencing to our country class. But here page got created, but it is not linking to our own class. Then what is this OOTB? So what is this code PEGA list? So why it is referencing to code PEGA list? So we don't know. That is one thing to be discussed. Okay. Let me try to click on this. Are we seeing anywhere list of countries? India, Australia, Pakistan? No. No, right? No. If I'm trying to, and before this, first of all, we have to cross check whether our country data is imported or not. Earlier importing failed, right?
Yes. It didn't.
Yes. Data is not yet imported. Let me do it.
But in the clipboard I saw 10,000 or something. What is that?
Let me tell. It's like maximum number of records that it can fetch out.
Oh.
It's not like 10,000 records pulled out. It is like capacity. Maximum capacity is like 10,000. So let me import the data. Make sure you close your content. Should not be open. So there I have seen something as 0. That is where I came here. You have observed something as 10,000. Okay, so if you see something like 0 there, 0 records fetched out, meaning there is no data in table first of all. Okay, so let me import state information also. Did you try working till here, everyone? Working with data types.
Yes.
Yes.
Data import in the Miku? Data imported.
Yes.
Yes.
ID, city name, and then state, right? State code, I guess. So you can see all the data imported. Now let me run the activity ID. Again, click on run, close this, open clipboard. And we are seeing country data as like page, whatever the page number we defined. So no doubt it is pulling out. And here it is referencing to something invalid class name, what we don't know about that. Let me click on this. I'm not seeing anything like India, Australia related information. Okay, but OBJ-Browse status is success. Data should be guaranteed pulled out because of its status message. But I'm not properly seeing it in clipboard. Let me try expanding it. If I could not see the content on that page, let me try expanding it and check for its sub pages. And here I can see something called PX results. Click on that. No relevant information. Click on the other one. No relevant. Try to expand this PX results also. So here I can see something like PX results of 1 to PX results of 7. Okay, so total 7 pages is what you are seeing. Why only 7 pages? So there might be 7 records in your table. So open your country table. Open your country table. So here how many records we are having? No doubt 7. So these 7 records from the table must be considered as 7 pages. So system is trying to manage with 7 pages, but with something different structure. We'll understand this. Let me click on this first one. So you can see this is page number 1, which must be like record number 1 here, right? So this record number 1 and it has to be displayed with its properties. Country ID as Australia, country ID as AUS, country name as Australia, and something like PXOBJ class also with respect to class name. Similarly, second one might be related to second record there, third one here, fourth, fifth. So how many records we have in table? No doubt those many pages are maintained here, but it is showing something called code PEGA list, and it is showing something called PX results and something like PX results of 1 till PX results of 7. So, so far everyone clear, right? Come on. Everyone clear, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe if I'm adding 10 more records, consider I added 10 more records. If I run the activity, someone please tell me how many PX results will be there? It must be 17, correct?
Yes.
Yes, right? So PX
Yes.
of 1 till PX of 7. So it is clear how many records we have in table, those many pages must be automatically generated. So even as a developer, I will not understand how many pages must be created from my end. If I'm simply trying to create number of pages from activity, I'll not know how many pages to be maintained. That is the reason PRPC is trying to use one page list. So you can see all these are collection of pages. Collection of pages, we technically call it as list structure. So here PX results is one OOTB page list where it is holding collection of pages depending upon the number of records we have in table. If I have table with 100 records, here 100 such indexed pages will be maintained from 1 to 100. Okay, so PX results is one OOTP page list. No doubt, collection of pages is like page list, and you can create your own page list, by the way. And if you are creating your own page list, you should define how many pages must be generated. We don't know any number for that. So that is the reason PRPC is having one OOTP page list with the name PX results. It is blindly using it. So this is what we have to understand. And if we closely observe, PX results of 1 is holding country information. PX results of 2 again country information. PX results of 3 something like this. So if I simply show you a page, so you can see something like PZ edit configurations, whatever it is. I'm showing you some dummy page. If I ask you what content will be maintained inside this page, what you'll say? I'm showing you some random page name, and if I ask you what content might be available, you'll say it must be holding something related to data portal, correct? That's right. It must
Yes.
be holding something related to data portal. Similarly, PX results of 1 is holding something related to country. This is holding something related to country. This is holding something related to country. By just looking at the class name, you can understand what content will be maintained in that page. Exactly, you should understand why country data is referencing to code PEGA list now. Why is it so? So if I simply show you this one, and if I ask you what data is maintained in country data, you should say something related to code PEGA list, correct? Something related to code PEGA list. What is that something? Something is nothing but PX results. You know, PX results is one page list. And by the way, we did not create it. It is purely OOTP. If I search for PX results, so PX results is one OOTP page list. You know how to create a page, right? If I ask you to create a page, here you will be selecting it as single page and some class name. And here, this is one page list. Here it must be referencing with some class name. Consider it is linked with country data class. Just an example. Okay, and this is like created in code PEGA list. So here you should understand every time OBJ-Browse ante collection of pages. Every time OBJ-Browse nothing but collection of pages. Every time OBJ-Browse should have list structure in clipboard. List structure meaning every time page list only. And PRPC every time uses OOTP page list called PX results. And this is by default created. This is by default created in code PEGA list. That is the reason whatever the page you defined during OBJ-Browse, whatever the page you defined during OBJ-Browse, internally it must be having collection of pages, internal it must be having PX results. So every page should be referencing with code PEGA list only. This is standard design, no one can change. Got my point, right? So here, if I go for something like state class or state page, whatever it is. And here, if I define state as the class name. Okay, state as the class name. Now, if I run, someone please tell me what should be the page name? State page, right?
Yes.
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 What should be its class in the bracket?
Code
PEGA
PEGA list.
PEGA list. If you expand, you'll see two things. What are those?
PX
Results
junction
and
PY map.
By mapping, ignore about PY mapping for now. No doubt you'll see PX results. If you expand PX results, so total, you might be seeing 20 pages today. In our state table, if there are like 20 records, no doubt you'll see 20 pages. And pointing from PX results of 1 to PX results of 20. And every of these 20 pages should be referencing to what class?
States class.
It
State.
must be state class, whatever the class name you define. So the same class should be referencing there. Similarly, if I define city, city page will be the class name. Sorry, this should be the page name. And in bracket code PEGA list, internal it might be having 30 results. Everything should be referencing to city class, city class, city class. So this is what you have to. So let me quickly recap here. So this is our database, and this is our country table, and this is your state table, and this is your city table. Okay, and I create an activity now. So activity low, if you are going with OBJ-Browse, you define A, B, C as the page name. System should every time use PX results. So if I just open PX results and cross check, this is maintained in code PEGA list. So if I ask you to create a page list generally, so we know how to create a page, right? We know how to create a page. So here you'll simply choose like single page, and here no doubt you have to give the class name. No doubt you have to give the class name. Then what will happen? This page will try to get so consider this as our data class where I have few properties, and maybe this as our work class. If I create a page here referencing to this class, I can use this set of properties for only one time, you know that. And if I wanted to use it for one more time, I'll create one more page. And if I wanted to use it for one more time, I'll create one more page. So if it is like fixed number of pages, you may create those many number of pages, that is enough. But here I don't know how many pages I'll get. So now we are not supposed to create a single page. We have to go for page list. So if I'm trying to go for page list, still it will ask you for a class name. Okay, still it will ask you for a class name. So I may have to define so and so basic details class, whatever it is. Okay, generally you have to define class name. But if I just check for PX results, referencing to code PEGA list, which is created in code PEGA list. So here it is not asking for it is not hard coded with any class name. Correct, correct? It is not hard coded with any class name. So consider if it is hard coded with something class name like this. Okay, if it is hard coded with something class name like this. So will this work for state related OBJ-Browse? No, right?
No.
Will this work for city related OBJ-Browse? No.
Uh,
So PX results is one OOTB to maintain collection of pages from any table you are trying to work on. So here PX results, you can see something class name as $class. Okay. Now let me come to activity. Here I'm trying to go for OBJ-Browse. ABC is the page name I defined. So here I'll give OZK dash so and so country class and dot country ID dot country name. Similarly, in the same activity, I'll try to go for OBJ-Browse, something like state page. Here, something state class, its respect to properties. Step number 3, again, OBJ-Browse, city page so and so city class and respect to properties. If I run this activity, consider this as your clipboard. Okay, so consider this as pure page. Ignore about pure page now. So whenever step number 1 is executed, no doubt ABC must be created. Okay, and this is because of OBJ-Browse. OBJ-Browse meaning it should have collection of pages. Okay, so if it is blindly defining this as the class name, it can hardly hold only one single record of the table. But I wanted to hold multiple, meaning there must be guaranteed a page list. So system is trying to use this page list, PX results. System is trying to use this one. So it can be using different one also, not a problem. If it is using something like different one, that is test, which might be in @base class. No doubt here you'll see test, and here in this case, you should see its class name. So unfortunately, we are having with the name called PX results. PX results from this class, that's it, nothing much. So PX results. And here you'll see with PX results of 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we just cross check in PX results, there is nothing but there is no class hard coded. If it is hard coded with any single class, then it might not be reusable for other OBJ browsers, correct? It might not be reusable. So that is the reason since PRPC, what they're trying to do is they are trying to give this as the class name automatically passed out. Okay, so whatever the OBJ-Browse class name you are using, this is passed as an parameter here, and that will be reaching out here. So this is what you have to do. Now coming to step number 2, you're trying to go for OBJ-Browse. Now this state page will be created, and no doubt this is for OBJ-Browse, nothing but collection of pages, nothing but PX results, which is from code PEGA list. And here PX results should be creating those many pages as per number of records out of that table. And every page should be linking with this table related class. That is nothing but this will be passed as an input here, and that will be reaching out here. So all the records of that will be displayed with this one. Similarly, again, city page, again PX results, code PEGA list, this class name should reach as a dollar class, and this will be displayed here. So this is purely reusable for every OBJ-Browse. And here dollar class meaning wherever you are using that class will be passed as a parameter. We call this as PX OBJ class. Getting my point? Suppose if I just check it in the activity now, activity, let me ignore everything. Consider I'm clicking on something different page now. Now, if I click on this one, consider if I click on this, I'll not expand it. I'll just simply click on that. If I simply click on this, by just looking at the right side content, so can anyone tell me what data internal it is having with? Is it holding country data or state or city information?
Country.
How can you
Country.
how can you say
PX
that?
OBJ
class
class.
name, OBJ class name,
It is like PY.
PY OBJ
PY,
class.
It is like PY. PY OBJ class is holding country. So don't correlate with this name. So this can be something different name also, right? So on clicking of this right side, you can see something called PY OBJ class. So it's nothing but this class must be sent as an parameter to this one. Okay, and PX result is constructed according to that. This is what you have to do. Fine. So here, if I expand and if I click on this one, so do you see anything like PY OBJ class for this?
no,
No, right? This is one single page. Single page should hold data from only one single class. And this is nothing but collection of pages. So here you'll see two things, PX OBJ class and PY OBJ class. PX OBJ class meaning this page is linking with what class? PY meaning this page internally holding what data? So here if I click on PX results of 1, this is single page, internal data will not be there, meaning PY OBJ class will not be there for this. It will be having only PX. Getting my point? Suppose if I run the flow rule, if I'm running the flow rule, so you'll see work object ID getting generated and you will still see pure page in clipboard. Okay, so let me click on clipboard. So no doubt you'll see pure page, right? Now, if I ask you pure page holding what data and being right side, you should see PX OBJ class, correct? Correct, right?
yeah,
Okay, so each and every page should be referencing to some class, and that will be holded with a property called PX OBJ class. And now don't expect PY OBJ class for this because this is a single page. Internal data will not be there. Okay, only for list structure, you will be seeing that. Got my point? Got my point, right, every one of you?
Yes.
So internally it will be seeing like PY OBJ class. So now coming back here. So whenever you are trying to run activity, so ABC will be created. ABC should hold PX results, meaning ABC page referencing to code PEGA list, meaning PX OBJ class will be code PEGA list for this. And internally PX results will be having this data, right? This will be passed here, and the same will be considered as PYOBJ class, which is country. And in this case, state page. So PXOBJ class will be code PEGA list only. PYOBJ class will be state class. Here, city list low. What is PXOBJ? Come on.
Code PEGA list.
It is code PEGA list. What is PY?
City class.
City list. This is what you have to. Clear, right? Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, everyone understood, right, about OBJ-Browse structure?
Yeah.
Fine. So now, did I close the clipboard? Okay. So try to expand this, and you'll see those many records. You know that PXLs of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so here PXLs of 1 is holding record number 1 of the table, that is Australia. PXLs of 2 maybe second record, maybe third record. So here, if I can see 7 pages, so maybe if this is our clipboard for country list, if I can see 7 pages, no doubt in my front end for the drop down there must be 7 records, 7 results. Am I correct?
Yes.
In database, if we have 7 records, in clipboard there will be 7 pages. In UI there must be 7 results. Correct or not? Correct, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So here, if first one is holding something Australia, here first position also will be showing like Australia only. Correct, right? So user interface is blind reflection of clipboard. Okay, if here first page is about Australia, here first result also will be Australia. Now, my business analyst, what they're saying is don't display Australia as the beginning. So display something in the reverse order, something like Zimbabwe. Okay, so if I'm supposed to get Zimbabwe somewhere at the top, no doubt here PXLs of 1 must be Zimbabwe only. And PXLs of 7 must be like Australia. It is trying to sort the content. So how to get the data sorted? How to get the data sorted? So for that, don't go to database table and try to delete all the records and try to rearrange according to that. It's not correct way. So you are supposed to arrange the data in clipboard itself. You should not disturb the table. So if I ask you to pull only first 2 records, don't expect like only 2 records to be available in table. So database table will be standard, it will be fixed. So whenever you are running an activity where you are trying to go for one SQL query, OBJ-Browse is nothing but SQL query. There you are supposed to do something like filtering part and something like sorting part. I'm supposed to rearrange the content. Meaning PX results of 1 will not be standard every time. In my database table, first record might be Australia every time. And here PX results of 1 need not be Australia. So it can be rearranged. So how it is maintained in clipboard, same way it will be maintained in table. This is what you have to know. So now let us understand how to apply those sorting and filtering options. In OBJ-Browse itself, maybe based on country name you can try. Maybe based on country ID you can try. So here country name, if you wanted to apply some sorting, let me define it as descending to descending. I'm saving it. So let me run this. Again, click on run. So now check it in the clipboard. And if we expand PX levels of 1, it is not holding Australia. Okay, don't expect like in database table sorting will be happening. In database table, it will be still having first position as Australia only. Try to refresh this. So SQL query is not disturbing the table. It is just trying to pull the data filtered and then sorted. Understanding, right? So you can see data getting sorted perfectly. So maybe if our requirement is to pull out country names which are ending with A. So here you have these many filtering conditions. So country name contains, starts with, is equal to, is not equal to. And if it is like an integer, we'll go for greater than or equal to, whatever it is. So let me go for something like ends with. And here you have to give it like hard-coded value like this. Let me save it. Now, do you really expect 7 records? 7 pages? No, right?
No.
No.
Only which ends with A will
And
be given.
yes, there might be somewhere data filtered out. I think Pakistan might be ruled out. Let me cross check. You can see only 4 pages, right? You can see only 4 pages. And that too data is sorted in the reverse order, descending order. So USA and somewhere first one as Australia. I think Pakistan, maybe Nepal. Nepal also ends with A, right? Whatever. Whatever is not ending with A, that is ruled out. So here, if I can see only 4 pages in my user interface, no doubt there must be 4 results only. So pulling out the data onto clipboard is challenge. And using the same content into front end is not at all a task at all. It's not at a challenge at all. Okay, so your hard work or your struggle should be how to get the data onto clipboard. You should not make this table disturb, and you should not make this UI also disturb. So here you have to get the content. Same thing you'll be referencing here. So how you got the data onto clipboard? So in terms of sorting, in terms of filtering, same way it will be reflected in the UI. So this is what you have to cross check. Okay. Now you should understand something about like OOTP properties. Suppose if I click on this single page, right side you are seeing like country ID, country name, right? So no doubt these are properties of its referencing class. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Suppose if I see PY work page. So this is our work class where I created property 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. And if this is our clipboard, where I see a page called PY work page referencing to this class. If I click on this page, if I click on this page, whatever the properties we have in that class, those will be listed out. Am I correct? Just tell me. Correct, right?
Yes.
That's right. Yes. Similarly, if I click on this page, whatever the class you see, those related properties will be listed out. Now, with this understanding, if I click on country data page, so whatever the page you created, right side, I can see some OOTP properties. All these properties where I can see number of results it fetched out, maximum number of records it can fetch out, whatever. So there are like few properties. And all these properties must be from what class? Anyone?
Code PEGA list.
It
Code
must
peg.
be code PEGA, no doubt in it. So you're having few OOTP properties maintained in code PEGA list, which will be holding the respective class name, its internal class name, its number of records, its maximum number of records, and even sometimes you see it as PX SQL statement pre, PX SQL statement post. I'm supposed to talk about this discussion in the next next class. So for today, I'm just giving you a little heads up. So there will be certain OOTP properties maintained in code PEGA list. What is importance of each and every property? Okay, and additionally, you used to see in past versions like PX SQL statement pre as one property, PX SQL statement post as another property. So nothing but whatever you see under this one, all are properties. And right side you used to see one SQL query. Select star from. This is pre, right? Class. So our country class. So OZK dash whatever, country class. And here select star from PR underscore. Here you'll see table. Here you'll see something like class. What is happening ante, whenever you are running one OBJ-Browse, so no doubt it is getting data from table. Ultimately, SQL query is required. So here OBJ-Browse is running or is generating one SQL query. And it will be trying to generate SQL query based on the class name. here I'm trying to define class name, right? So PRPC or OBJ-Browse will try to generate one query based on the class name, and the same will be converted into tabular mode just to understand for our table. So this is what you have to understand. So consider if OBJ-Browse is failing, you should understand whether these SQL queries are generated correctly or not. So this is what we used to debug in the past versions of PEGA. But in the latest versions, you are not seeing these two properties in clipboard, but still you can, in tracer, you can check. And if you are doing any mistake from OBJ-Browse level here, you could not even save the row. Suppose if I define something different here, you cannot save it. And so I'm trying to mark this checkbox. Okay, at least you could save it, but you will not get the output. So in latest versions, it will be throwing some exceptions here itself. Okay, you need not rely on these two properties. Okay, if you still wanted to check, you can just check it in the tracer. So what is the SQL query for class related? What is the same SQL query converted into tabular mode? So these things, I'll explain all these things in the next session. Okay, so OBJ-Browse looks simple, but understanding wise, you have to put a lot of effort. So if I just explain you OBJ-Browse, it will not hardly take more than 10 minutes, right? You don't know anything about OBJ-Browse, but if I'm making you to understand, it will not take more than 10 minutes. But you should understand complete background architecture. So PEGA skeleton, if you can understand. So if you are putting enough effort to understand activity OBJ-Browse, then it will be very easy for you to understand report definition structure. It will be very easy for you to understand data page structure. It will be very easy for you to understand data transforms related clipboard structure. So for very first rule, we have to put lot of effort. Okay, I know it is painful for me only, but you should understand. It will take you have to put lot of effort. And maybe after 5 years or 10 years, if PRPC is launching a new rule like ABC, no doubt its clipboard structure also should be same. PEGA skeleton will not change. In front end, rule names or maybe some kind of features might be launched something different. But overall skeleton, overall clipboard structure, overall background PRPC engine will never change at all, even after decades as well. Understood, right? Today, everyone clear at how to work with OBJ-Browse? So tomorrow I'll
Yes.
give tomorrow we'll talk about some other points also, after which I'll give you 10 assignments. I'll explain those 10 assignments in class itself. And if you can do those 10 assignments, and you'll be getting those assignments even on our portal as well. And if you can complete all these 10 or 20, everything related to OBJ-Browse is what you clearly understand. If you can understand OBJ-Browse, I need not take this pain for you in making understanding for report definition. And there will not be such pain for understanding data pages. Okay, so we'll come to that. Okay, then. Clear, right, everyone? Any doubts, any questions?